And it has really made a big impact on my life because I didn't know the kind of music you make exists. So I want to thank you for that, first of
Thank,
all.
thank you.
And I just want to ask you to talk a little bit about your music for people who haven't had the pleasure of listening to you. Tell us a little bit about what it is, if you would, please.
Yes. So, a little bit about me. I was a life coach for about 7 years for youth and women. And so I'm based in Detroit. So I was working in Detroit public high schools as a life coach. And I did that full time for 6.5 years. And so back in 2019, I released my first affirmation album, Affirmations for the Grown Ass Woman. I had intended to create that album for my clients and to boost my coaching business that I was doing on the side. I had no intentions of creating a whole new genre of music where I would be doing music full time. And so basically, I created a genre called affirmation music that helps people talk to themselves better. I've been a mental health advocate for about 10 years now. My academic background is psychology. I'm a neuroscience, human behavior nerd. So I'm very well read in the space when it comes to personal development and human behavior. So everything that I've done in my profession and career has been channeled into this new career that I founded and on spearheading this new genre of music called affirmation music. So I just help people talk to themselves better, and they get to witness the benefits of that practice.
Well, I mean, you've had one success story here in me. I like to think of you as a kind of mentor, even though we've never met before, because I do often play your music, not even just literally, but I can hear it. I can hear you talking to me in my head. So that's just so cool. And I want to thank you for that. The first song that I heard of yours was Take Up Space, Sis. So can you
Mm.
tell me a little bit more about like what motivated that particular song, because that was such an attention grabber for me. Like you said, you've really spearheaded this. I'd never heard anything like that before. So talk to me about that. Talk to me about Take Up Space, Sis. What is that?
Take Up Spaces is pretty much an anthem of women just shining their light, shining, opening up their voice, opening up their hearts, opening up their minds to big energy of who they truly are, you know? And I was just on another podcast interview and talking about this song, and I'm like, the source of this song is my journey of experiencing life as a woman and my journey witnessing other women experience life in a Western society where we're rewarded and defined by how much we give to others, by how much we shrink ourselves and put everybody first on the list and put ourselves last. And so Take Up Space says is an anthem for women to finally say, all hats are off. I'm going to show up big, and whoever is triggered by that, they're not my people, they're not my tribe, they're not the vibration, they're not my allies. And because when you show up big, your people come, your opportunities come. People are drawn by your authentic expression. So Take Up Spaces is pretty much the soundtrack for women to opt into, to decide, do I want to take up space in this space, at work, at home, in my marriage, with my children, with my creativity, with my purpose. They get to choose by listening to that song, like, do I finally want to say yes to me? So it's that.
And it's scary, isn't it? So many women are so scared of that. And I was scared to take up space.
Mhm.
And I don't think I even realized that. And I realize that I am a very privileged person. And yet I still was afraid to take up space. And so uh, I think I could understand perhaps a little bit more about women who are not as privileged as I am and how much more difficult it must be in this society that will take a whack-a-mole hammer to you. Um, what you're doing is so important. And do you have words of encouragement besides just your music, which is obviously just a pantheon of encouragement, do you have any words to how can a woman start that? Start to take up space, start to allow that energy in her life.
I think the point of entry into a woman, the point of entry into taking up space for a woman should be with herself first, to take up space with herself, whether she's a mom, um, whether she's an executive that's running a Fortune 500 company, whether she's a stay-at-home wife, whatever, or she's a single woman who's a musician somewhere in the world, no matter what lifestyle you're living, just turn off all the noise and get somewhere quiet
Mhm.
and just ask yourself questions. Am I happy? Take up space that way. Take up space with self-curiosity, self-inquiry. Take inventory of what you like about your life, what you don't like about it. Who are the people that make you feel most supported and loved? Who are the people that don't make you feel supported and loved? What habits do you know that self-sabotage the goodness that you want to express and share and create in the world? Like, just radical curiosity and inquiry with yourself is where you can take, because when you take up space with you, with the things that you've been neglecting and ignoring and been denial of in your own personal private life, you build that muscle to take up space, that boldness and that courage to take up space with other people, with other spaces, with the, other opportunities. You see what I'm saying? So I would say that's the
Absolutely.
first point of entry, is actually take up space with yourself.
Because we are so often our own worst enemies in a way.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
because
And that's
yeah,
that's why affirmation music is so important, because if you look at how you talk to yourself, you wouldn't let a friend talk to you that way, you
that's right.
know? You wouldn't let
That's
a
right.
politician talk to you that way. Well,
Mhm.
so when you look at that, you can say, wow, if I'm my worst enemy, I wonder if I can be my best ally.
Mm,
Affirmation music allows you to do that at the push of
mhm,
play, you know?
mhm. Do you have a musical background? You're so
No,
musical. You don't?
not at all. It was something I
Uh-huh,
discovered. It has just
uh-huh.
been the juiciest part about my life. It's
Isn't
by
that great?
discovering a dream that I never dreamed before. And it has blown me away. I blush every time I talk about it and get emotional every time I talk about it, because it was a surprise. It was something that swept me off my feet. So I didn't know. It's just like you live throughout your life and you discover what you're
Yes,
supposed to do. It goes, it doesn't go against everything you were planning for. It almost complements it, because everything that you did before, I was doing before, wasn't lost. It was
right.
actually utilized into what I do now. So I don't have a musical background. It's a funny thing because when I look back, I can see the breadcrumbs and how it led me here.
Isn't that
I was
cool? I
just
love that. I love the breadcrumb story.
Yes,
So tell me
the
that. Yeah.
breadcrumbs. So I have three
Okay.
breadcrumb stories. One is I was a substitute teacher while I was in school, getting back. I went back to school to get my degree in psychology. I was a substitute teacher for a music class. I was a long-term substitute teacher for a whole
Uh-huh.
semester of a music class. And all I
Mhm.
did was teach them what I was learning in school. I taught them
Oh,
about the
cool.
psychology and the power of music,
Uh-huh.
because I'm like, I don't know anything about music. What can I teach them? And,
Right.
because they didn't have a music teacher. So it's funny that I'm doing music now, and
Yeah.
it actually an example of the power of music. Um, and then the second breadcrumb is my mom used to put me in these pageants when I was younger,
Mhm.
and my talent always was rehearsing Proverbs 31, which is a passage out of the Bible, where it talks about a woman and how she presented herself in the community, in her home. And I always recited that passage, Proverbs 31, over piano music. That
Oh,
was my
wow. Were you
talent.
playing?
I
Were you
didn't
playing
play
piano?
piano.
No.
No, I
Uh-huh.
just had piano music playing or a pianist
Uh-huh.
playing it.
Uh-huh.
So it was just like, when I look back at that, I'm like, oh my gosh.
There are the
Like, no
breadcrumbs for
one,
you.
those were the breadcrumbs. It's like whether my parents didn't know, I didn't know, nobody in my life knew, but something else knew and was threading and orchestrating my purpose and my destiny without my knowledge. And that's just it's a fascinating story, even to me who lived it.
It really is fascinating, and it's nice to me that you chose the word orchestrated. I don't even think you did that consciously. Maybe you did, but you said it orchestrated my path,
Yeah.
which it
Because
did.
yeah, because it feels that way. I love going to the orchestra
Yeah.
hall here in Detroit. I love orchestra. I just love music. I didn't like I'm new to this. I've always enjoyed it, but I fell in love with it once I discovered this was my gift. I was like, and it made so much sense of why I love all these genres. I didn't know until I started creating it. And so orchestra when I go to the orchestra hall and watch all the like the composing and the different elements that creates a sound that's in unison but very much individual, that's what I think of my life, like it's been orchestrated, like a
Oh, I love
whole
that.
musical or something. So
Yeah. And it's, when I try to tell people about your music who haven't heard your music, I think that they're expecting that it's going to be like the kind of music they play when you're getting a massage, the kind of,
like new
ah,
age.
like exactly like new age music. And that's what I really want to get across to people who haven't experienced your music, that that's not what it's about. So what are some of your maybe musical influences that people could think, oh, okay, that is rings a bell to me.
Oh man, I don't have any musical influences that I could compare my music to,
Sure. Who what
but
is your sound like?
oh
Like
my
I don't
gosh,
I don't know. For some reason I'm thinking Stevie Wonder, but it's not really like Steve, but it's got that same
it's
vibe to me.
vibe. Well, I would say Motown music.
There you
Motown
go.
music. Motown music. I'm from Detroit, so I'm
Right.
always rep
Hmm.
Motown. But
Yeah.
Motown music, if I was to say, to give some type of reference point of
Sure.
what my music feels like and what it does, it gives the Motown effect. It takes people into a trance of enjoyment of life and a new narrative, a new possibility in the midst of chaos, in the midst of a seemingly hopeless society.
Yeah.
It's like it creates another pocket of possibility for you to reimagine life and reimagine the world, which Motown music did very, very well. Until this day, you can push play on Motown music in 2023, and you're immediately transported into a vibration of like enjoyment, and you want to dance and you want to move and you want to smile and you want to recite the lyrics, and so affirmation music is a way to do that, but speaking to yourself,
That's
enjoying it,
beautiful.
you know
Yeah. I think I was picking up on that with the Stevie Wonder, because your music doesn't sound at all like Stevie Wonder, but I get the same kind of feeling that
vibe.
I
Yeah,
get, just
yeah.
that, like you said, that happy, uplifting, go do something, make something happen music. Not that there's
Hmm.
anything wrong with massage music, but this is not
Hmm.
massage music. It's a different kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Did you grow up with a strong spiritual practice?
I was going to say that was my third breadcrumb, is that
Oh, yeah.
I grew up in
Okay.
church,
Hmm.
and I went to I don't know if you know about the gospel legendary the Winans,
No.
but they are like gospel music legends. Like they've contributed to the music industry tremendously, and they're based here in
Oh,
Detroit.
cool.
And one of them have a church here in Detroit. And then I grew up at another church that it just having choir directors. When you grow up in the urban church community, music is everything to that
Right.
experience. Dance, movement, expression is is just is part of that culture. And
Hmm.
so even though I didn't have any like formal musical education or training, the church influenced me heavily. And so it also influenced me spiritually, because since I was 7 years old, I always had an insatiable appetite to perform miracles.
Oh.
I remember reading in the Bible about how Jesus performed miracles, and I didn't think of Jesus as someone I had to like. When I think about what I remember as a child, Jesus was not like a leader of a religion. He was like a superhero to me. I was like,
Oh.
just like how you look at Superman or
Uh-huh.
Wonder Woman, I was like, Jesus can walk on water. He can turn water into wine. He can heal people and raise people. I was like, I want to do that. But
Uh-huh.
there was no type of empowerment conversations that I was a part of that was training people how to perform miracles. And then as I got older, I was like, oh, performing miracles is not actually a thing in society. That's like, so I just let that go. But I remember as a child, that was something that I really wanted to do. Like I wanted to do something that defied logic, you know? And so my spiritual background comes from a religious space, but it started with the natural appetite for the supernatural.
I love that. And that makes me think of how when I was a little child, I thought of Santa Claus as being like a god, you know? And so when I would say, I want to lead the prayer for dinner one night, I said, Santa Claus, thank you for our toys. And everybody burst out laughing. But to me, it's like, what's the difference? I don't get it. There's all these supernatural figures I'm learning about. So that's
Right.
really, I can relate to that a lot. And
Uh-huh.
that I wonder if more children think like that than we are as adults aware of, you know,
I
because children's
oh
minds are so different.
well, when I feel like when you really get present with children
Yeah.
and you're looking them in their eyes and you're talking to them, you're playing with them and you're at their level, they start to feel safe around you and they open up and say things to you you would never expect a child say to you.
Right.
Like but their most profound insight and awareness and knowledge and wisdom that they have that they can teach you, but they're so overly conscious and aware of
Mm-hmm.
adults and how it impacts how their behavior impacts the way adults treat them. So we learn as children how to edit ourselves and audit what we say so we don't get in trouble, or so we're not judged or rejected or abandoned or punished, you know. So but
Yeah.
when you really talk to kids, I mean, I have heard some very profound things that really do something to my mind, that I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm like, this is a 5-year-old saying this. This is a 7-year-old saying this. I don't understand, you know, and I'm like, they really are the wise keepers of the world, you know, besides our elders, you know.
Is it because they're closer to source, do you think? Because of their,
I
mm,
I do.
yeah.
I believe because of our elders, they're closer to source because they're on their way
Mm-hmm.
out. And I
Mm-hmm.
think children are closer to source because they just got here, you
Mm-hmm.
know, so they don't have as much conditioning and social conditioning and pressure of society as a lot of us middle aged folk, you know what I'm saying, and
I do.
teenagers
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
So I think that's very much true to the reason
Mm-hmm.
why they can share such wisdoms without having a lot of life experience.
Um, so what is power? What is power in the world? I mean, we see it every day. People lord their power over other people. People want power. I try so much to just wrap my head around what is it? Is it an energy? I mean, it's wrapped up with money, but
Mm-hmm.
it's different than money. So, what are your thoughts about power? Are people born with power? Do you have to, well, obviously you don't have to earn power. Some people have power and they don't deserve it. So what is that, and how are we as human beings, in your wise opinion, meant to deal with this weird phenomena of power, and how some people have it, some people don't? What do we do with that?
You know, that's a great question and a great conversation topic, because we have so many narratives and definitions around power, individually and collectively. And but I'll say from my experience and what I've learned with my defining, my ever evolving defining definition of power, it started with money. It started with being able to, um, you know, be a Christian who saved souls for the church. You know, it went to And it just evolved over the years. It ended up being defined by my own personal liberation. That's powerful when you can have your own individual thought in a society that thrives off of conformity. Um, Power, what I have recently defined power, I won't say define power, but I like my power, my definition of power is alive. It's not confined. I realize that it's always growing and changing. And so what I realize is the power that I have and the power that I realize a lot of celebrities and people and influencers have is the trust of people,
Hmm.
the currency of relationships that you have with audiences and with people. Where if you can say, hey, I like this product, buy it. More than many will buy it. That's
Yeah.
power. When you can influence the minds of people and they trust you, and you can have some type of currency with them that goes far past finances, that is very powerful. And the responsibility to that power, I don't think people are willing to pay that price if they knew what it actually costs to have power over people's minds and energy. Um, and so for me, it's an honor and it's a sacred opportunity to return people back to themselves, not allure them more into what I want them to opt into. Even when I sell or market things to them, I'm like, sit with yourself before you say yes to what I'm offering. And if it's true for you, if it's financially comfortable, opt in. If it resonates with you, I always give people back their own power of their free will. I also think free will is power. When you're able to make a sovereign choice to say, I know that this situation is saying to me to feel this way and that it'll be worse if I do this, but I'm going to choose and use my free will to choose to choose to believe I'm safe, choose to believe that even in the chaos, even in the uncertainty, that I'm safe, secure, and